Welcome back to Travolting. Hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore. Covering old dogs. Enjoy the episode.
My back.
Oh, Jeff. Jeff, my fucking knee.
Stuart.
My fucking knee.
Stuart.
I need it replaced, Jeff.
We've been doing this podcast for a year now. It's almost like we're
57 fucking years.
It's almost like we're old dogs at it.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm such a fucking old dog. I need to be put down.
Oh,
Somebody help me. I've been doing this podcast for so many years. I need to be put. Oh, my God. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, welcome to Travolta, everybody.
Welcome to Old Dogs.
Welcome to Old Dogs.
That's right. We are covering the 2009
Walt Becker
picture, Old Dogs.
Now, Walt Becker. That's a familiar name.
Yeah, he did Wild Hogs.
The Wild Hogs.
Yes. One of our great episodes.
Yeah, my dad was on that one.
He was. A fun time.
It was a very fun time.
But yeah, we are, as you folks know, we're officially in the Travolta exploitation era. Hope you enjoyed our episode last week on Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 with Cole.
Act 3.
We're in Act 3.
We're in Act 3.
As we talked about yesterday, we are in Act 3.
And, like, I feel like we're looking down the barrel of a gun here.
You're looking at some threats coming our way.
What do we have to look forward to?
We got some hits coming up. Don't you worry. And by hits, I mean bullet impacts.
This, like, I feel like Era 1 had a little bit for both of us.
Yeah.
Era 2 was mostly for me. I feel like I got
Era 2 was for both of us. What are you talking about?
Well, I got a lot of Era 2.
Yeah.
I got some good Era 2 moments.
Yeah.
Era 3.
It's all me.
It's all you.
These are all my kind of movies.
It's all your kind of movies. But
direct-to-video action movie made for $2 million. My kind of movie.
But you know what? Old Dogs.
Yeah, Old Dogs. We're going to get heralded in by Old Dogs.
Came out in 2009. How old were you in 2009, Jeff?
How old was I? I was like 13-ish.
I would have been about 14.
Yeah.
Would have been 14. Almost 8th grade. Yeah, would have been 8th grade.
Yeah.
So, so this movie came out, and when I knew we were gonna watch this movie, like, I saw the title Old Dogs, and I saw that had the one and only, the greatest person to ever live the face of the earth,
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
Yes, is in this movie.
Now, I just knew that going in. I thought, oh, cool, this is a Robin Williams movie. This will be fun to watch. I started watching this. Jeff, I had seen this movie before.
Yeah, Stuart realized he'd seen this
and I had no idea. I totally forgot I had seen this movie before.
I almost saw this movie before.
Yeah.
I was on a vacation with my uncle, and he brought me and my cousin to the movie theater. And he said we had a choice to go see Old Dogs or The Princess and the Frog.
And you picked Princess and the Frog.
We inexplicably picked The Princess and the Frog.
Good choice.
Good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this also, even though we had a choice between those two movies, this is also a Disney picture.
It is.
It is not on Disney Plus, though. Presumably, Disney saw this and said, no, we are not putting that on the platform.
Would you say it violates some codes of the Geneva Convention?
I would not. I would say this movie has a distaste for humanity.
Yeah.
This movie does not like people. Which, to jump right into the context corner, this movie is by a filmmaker, Walt Becker.
Yes.
Who we talked about in Wild Hogs.
Yep.
Also of fame of...
Alvin and the Chipmunks Road Trip?
Yeah, Alvin, the Road Chip. Don't you get that wrong.
And Clifford, the new movie that just came out this year.
Clifford the Big Red Dog just came out. But, you know, Walt Becker is a guy who has a following online, believe it or not. As we talked about a little bit in Wild Hogs.
Yeah.
As a bit of a vulgar auteurist in the stylings of John Waters. who he actually gives a cameo to in Alvin and the Chipmunks. John Waters pops up. But he has a following as like just kind of making movies that hate people and hate humanity.
Yeah.
And I think this very much fits in, and provocative movies, and I think this very much fits into that secretly.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie remotely achieves doing what it's trying to do, which would be like a heartwarming family comedy. But I think it's this like vulgar oddity from another dimension with nothing but contempt for humanity.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Jeff, because
this movie's kind of entertaining.
It has some moments. It has some moments.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie, I read in IMDb trivia, the greatest source of knowledge
Yes.
known to humanity, better than the Alexandria Library.
Yes.
Well,
the Alexandria Library is burned down. The
Exactly.
IMDb trivia wasn't, so like, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. IMDb trivia's got a beat. This movie was originally rated R.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what kind of was a little funny. They cut 19 minutes out of it.
Yes.
Turned it to PG-13.
Yes.
You mean to tell me that the differentiating factor of what made this an R movie was 19 minutes?
Yes. And that is exactly what I think the problem with this movie is.
Absolutely.
Is that this was made as an... And we've talked about in the past how I said I don't think a movie changing from PG-13 to R can really affect its impact. Like, a good movie's still a good movie.
Yeah.
This is the exception to that rule. That if you take an R-rated, like, adult comedy, you cut 19 minutes out and you try and make it a family comedy.
A family comedy.
No, thank you. Because Walt Becker had done Wild Hogs,
which
is an adult comedy.
It's a mild adult comedy. It's a
Yeah.
PG-13 mild adult
But
comedy.
it is an adult comedy.
But it is an adult comedy.
And
This was an R comedy.
Well, Wild Hogs was released through Touchstone, which is Disney's
Yeah.
adult branding.
Yeah.
And this was originally going to be released through that as well. But they made it PG-13 after poor test screenings. But where we're at right now, in the terms of Travolta's career for this movie,
Oh boy. Let's talk about John Travolta.
he's in a poor spot.
Forget about
but
the other
he-
amazing human being in the
Yeah,
room.
he's still riding the coast of his Disney deal, which we talked about before. Is that Disney is, I mean, every studio does this, but Disney especially, like, kind of gets into grooves with certain actors and works with them for a few years on a few different movies. And I feel like right around this time, Travolta was, he's at the end of his Disney deal.
Yeah.
Because he had done Wild Hogs,
Yeah.
then he did Bolt, and then he does this.
He had Bolt, then Wild Hogs, then this.
Wild Hogs, Bolt, this.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So he does 3 Disney pictures in a row, and this is the end of that.
Yeah.
But he does the 3 Disney pictures in a row, 2 of them with the same director, Walt Becker, who he presumably liked working with, and vice versa, and then an animated comedy, Bolt. And so this is the tail end of that. I don't think the deal necessarily really worked out the way Disney was hoping. I don't think Old Dogs was the smash hit they were hoping for, though it did actually do rather well.
Yeah, this did decently well in the box office.
Tragically. No, not tragically.
Well, I mean, I have an audience. There's an audience for this type of movie.
And we are that audience.
Well, my family in 2009 was that audience.
Yes.
You bet your ass we went to see this in theaters, probably.
Yeah. You and I think, actually kind of like in parts of this movie a little bit. I like it, like I said earlier, as this.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, here's something I do want to say. I typically don't like the phrase turn your brain off movies.
Mm-hmm.
I typically don't like those phrases when people say that. Like, when people try to talk about Transformers being a good movie, they usually use that terminology. They're like, why the fuck is Transformers a good movie? And their response is, well, you just got to turn your brain off and enjoy it, man. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it makes it good. This might be an exception.
Yeah, this
Might be a movie where it's like turning your brain off would help you a lot for your viewing experience of this movie.
Yes.
Because otherwise, if you're trying to get any more deeper gain of knowledge out of this,
you're not getting it.
You're not getting anything.
And that's what I was saying. I enjoy kind of the. I don't think that this movie is as heartwarming as it's trying to be. Probably just because they had to cut 19 minutes out and kind of retroactively make it a heartwarming comedy.
The most heartwarming segment is Seth Green getting close to a gorilla.
Yes, that is what this movie's about.
That is what this movie really is all about. Also, fun fact about this movie, it was delayed for nearly a year for 3 reasons.
Yes, this is a cursed production.
Yes. first reason was Bernie Mac's death.
Yes, he's only in like 2 scenes.
Yeah, and this is his last movie. He's only in 2 scenes, but if you watch closely at the credits, he still gets his own personal hairstylist, personal wardrobe artist. Like,
I think he might have been planned to be in more scenes of this movie.
Well, he didn't die during production, I don't think.
Oh, was it postponed after production?
I think it was. I think they were in post-production, and he died, and his death caused them to delay it.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, the first delay was that. The second delay was for, and we talked about this on our either our Travolta recap or Taking a Pelham 123 episode.
Oh, it was the retrospective.
Yeah, with Travolta's oldest son, Jet, tragically passing away. So after that happened, then they delayed it again. Then the third reason was Robin Williams had a health scare with his heart. So, yeah, very cursed distribution project. So eventually came out. I want to say they shot this film early 2008.
They shot this movie, it seems like early 2008, late 2007.
Yeah, I think probably late 2007 is more likely.
Because Bernie Mac actually shot a movie after this that came out before it.
Okay.
From what I'm reading right here.
But this was his last distributed movie.
Yes, this is his last released movie.
Yeah. So
unless you count the trailer for Transformers: The Last Night, which if you've not seen the trailer is oh no, it's the trailer for Bumblebee. That's it.
Bernie Mac as a.
They use his lines from the first Transformers movie.
It's like yeah,
but like it's like this epic echo in the music. It's like swelling in the back. It's like you driver don't pick the car. Car picks the driver. I just see Bumblebee like rattling in and crazy.
And that was a good movie.
Yeah, first Transformers, great movie.
Oh, saying Bumblebee.
Oh, Bumblebee, good movie too.
Bumblebee was a
those are the 2 like good Transformers movies, like actually good ones.
The first one and Bumblebee.
Yeah. Dark of the Moon is highly impressive as a movie.
Impressive at how much it sucked.
No, they did insane stunt work for that movie. It's ridiculous. They had guys jumping off of skyscrapers with squirrel suits. Nuts. Anyway, we're diverging. So I'm going to get back into the context corner. Yeah. I was making my way over onto Divergence, the Divergence Den. I'm going to get back to the context corner. Let me just take a few steps back over there. Okay. So, what the fuck was that? What? I was in the Divergence Den. I had to get out. So this is the tail end of John Travolta's deal with this. And this is also the last Disney film Robin Williams does.
Yeah.
Because he had a pretty decent run with them, with movies like Flubber and the first and last Aladdin movies, etc.
A decent run, but a run that was kind of annoying for Robin Williams. Like almost all of his movies that he made with Disney was not without any conflict involved.
Like Aladdin.
A lot of people know about the Aladdin story.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was something involved with Flubber. I don't really know what, but it just seems like Robin Williams walked away out of his Disney deal kind of like, I don't really think I need to do that ever again.
Yeah, he's like, I'm kind of getting sick of Disney.
But even though what's tragic about that, though, is like Robin Williams, who in his early days of his movie career, we're going to do the Robin Williams context corner now, ladies and gentlemen. Because Robin Williams is my godfather. Not just because he's my father in heaven, but also legally he's my godfather. No, he's not, but I wish he was. Robin Williams in his early career, mostly adult films, adult-oriented films.
Yeah.
Dramas, adult comedies. And it's then, Aladdin, which was, what year was Aladdin? It was like...
Aladdin was 92.
92. Aladdin was sort of the stepping stone that sort of turned Robin Williams into this mature, adult, humoristic presence on screen to child movie star, kind of.
Yeah.
And...
Because, after Aladdin, it's the run of... it is Aladdin, Toys, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Turns it more into a family household
Jumanji,
name.
Jack.
Yeah. Well, and then
Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
And then it kind of... I think what happened with Williams is that he sees that immediate rise of fame from that. Like, he gets more money that way. All the movies he did prior were great movies, but, like, I don't think either of them were getting in the big bucks.
Yeah.
he's getting into these family-friendly films, and they're making the big dollars in the box office. And they're getting him bigger paychecks. But what's happening, though, is that with every project he's taking after that, it sort of pigeonholes him more in, because then we're going to get Popeye.
Well, Popeye was at the beginning of his career.
It was in the beginning of his career.
That was 1980.
Was it that early?
Yeah, that was a Robert Altman picture.
Fucking hell.
The Stuart, this context corner doesn't have accurate context in it.
Well, I mean, what I will say, though, is this is sort of kind of the downfall of Robin Williams' fame with Old Dogs and therefore onward. It does more kind of, we were talking about Travolta does direct-to-DVD action movies. Robin Williams is direct-to-DVD family movies.
Yeah.
And that's where these two stars are sort of heading at this point.
Yeah. And they're making a movie kind of about that.
They are.
That is the interesting element of this movie.
Yeah.
Is that this is the first time, I'm not necessarily the first time for Robin Williams, it's the first time Travolta's playing old without like playing old.
Yeah, that's a problem I have with this movie.
Yeah.
Is they're called Old Dogs, and they imply that they're both of the same age. Yet if you watch them in this movie, one of them clearly looks older than the other.
Yes.
And for real life context, Robin Williams is only 3 years older than Travolta.
Yeah. But Robin Williams does look significantly older. And it's because Travolta's, still dyeing his hair.
He's definitely getting some fillings.
Some little work done.
Yeah. Robin Williams is all organic, bitch.
All organic.
All organic, motherfucker. You know what he did when he got his hair white? He kept it white.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Robin Williams does have some work done in this movie, which we'll talk about.
Which, that was part of the violation of the Geneva Convention I might have been referring to.
This movie does break some laws. This movie did break
We're going to talk about that. So those are my context bits. Do you have any more context bits before we get into the plot?
I mean, I kind of just scatterbrained all the context there, but it's a Walt Becker picture. Yeah, he's known for, kind of making vulgar movies. This kind of set him on the path of making kids movies for the rest of his career, probably against his will. Because he wanted this to be an R-rated comedy, but then after this, he's stuck doing Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip, and Clifford the Big Red Dog.
All of which were years apart from each other.
Yes. He takes 5 years between his movies to really hone his craft.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically the context of Old Dogs. First time Travolta's playing old.
And so, I mean, I guess we can get into the plot, but this is going to be a little interesting, Jeff.
I would also say this, thinking about it, I think this is the last time Travolta does like a family movie.
Really?
Which in some semblance was kind of his bread and butter for a little bit.
I mean, Look Who's Talking was like his life preserver.
Like this is because we're right at the beginning of the third era.
Yeah.
And this feels like the last gasp of it in some semblance. Like this is him trying to get back to his Look Who's Talking days.
Yeah.
But I can't even say that because it was made as an R-rated comedy.
I mean, Look Who's Talking is kind of an R-rated family comedy.
Yeah, it is kind of. But this is his last time really doing a movie for families. Because after this, it's all R-rated action movies and whatnot, which I know you're very excited about.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. Okay, now
I guess we can just dive into
plot time. Plot time. So this is gonna be interesting when we start talking about the plot. I don't know about you, Jeff, but I don't have that many notes.
I have a lot of notes for this movie.
Do you?
Yeah. 2 pages, just of things that happen. They're not going to be deep notes.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's kind of my thing too. Is I have bullet points.
Yeah.
And then it kind of stops. So basically, Robin Williams plays Dan.
Yes.
What's Dan's last name?
Good question. Dan Rayburn.
What's John Travolta's character name?
Charlie Reed.
Charlie Reed.
Yeah.
So Dan and Charlie, Williams and Travolta, two of America's sweethearts.
Travolta getting top billing in this movie, in spite of Robin Williams being the lead.
Yeah.
Robin Williams is very much the lead character of this movie.
Very much so.
But Travolta's, like I said, this is the last gasp of his A-list era. He's still getting top billing because he is a big star. And then this is basically the end of that.
Right. So Robin Williams and Travolta are two best buds.
Mm-hmm.
Which they are in real life. Were in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were best friends in real life. But they're best friends in this movie, Dan and Charlie. They're business partners. They work for a sports marketing agency.
Yeah, and they used to be hot shit. They were like the two playboys of sports marketing.
And we kind of get that with this opening montage showing some old photos of them together.
With some very dodgy compositing work.
With some very dodgy compositing work. Now, a few episodes back, this was way back in the Act 2 A-list era, we covered a movie called Lonely Hearts.
And we talked about dodgy compositing in the opening montage.
Yeah.
This movie truly also has dodgy. It's funny because some of the compositing, because like it'll be a picture of like some high schoolers and like John Travolta's head is like inhumanly grafted onto the top of one of them. But the thing is, I read this. Some of those pictures are actually from the production of Carrie.
Yeah.
Of John Travolta, and they just put other people around him. So he looks the least dodgy, but everyone else still looks dodgy.
And then they photoshopped Robin Williams from his days in like the 70s. Mork and Mindy. Into a screenshot of John Travolta and Carrie in the car. They just took out Nancy Allen.
Yes.
They put in Robin
Nancy
Williams.
Allen. That's disrespectful.
Well, she died in Blowout, so.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. So they're best friends, and they used to be hotshot with like the girls and all that stuff, but they're clearly out of touch.
As a meta commentary on both their careers, I was vibing with this right off the bat. Yeah, it's about two guys who used to be like the charmers. Like Travolta was like, you know, sex symbol, big actor. Robin Williams was the funniest guy in Hollywood. And not to say that they aren't any of those things anymore, but they're growing older. Yeah. And so this movie is, at this point, I think, trying to be about like the two of them, their celebrity personas, kind of settling down into an old age and into a family routine, which both of them in real life were doing. Yeah. So there's an interesting meta commentary angle of this movie, which I never thought I'd say about the movie, the motion picture Old Dogs.
In 2009.
Yes, the 2009 Walt Becker film.
Yeah. But so they're going to a business pitch.
Yes.
And Travolta's like, oh, I'm going to tell them that like Fremont story. It's like, no, don't tell them the Fremont story. But then they go to the business pitch.
They're meeting with a team of Japanese investors.
Yes.
They're trying to get them to help them expand into Japanese sports, I think is the bit.
I think so.
I believe that's it.
So Travolta immediately tells the story about how Robin Williams is upset. He just got divorced.
Yes.
And so John Travolta's like, I'm going to take you to Miami, and we're going to go party it up.
Yeah.
And so they do. It's this fast montage scene. There's a quick shot of like, you know, Travolta and Robin Williams getting drunk, getting crazy, Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
Williams gets a tattoo. All right, can I just say, Travolta and Robin Williams' chemistry as friends in this movie,
really strong.
Really good.
I think they're both actually okay in this movie.
Yeah. I really like the two of them are actually like,
even Travolta's actually funny in this. Like he has good timing.
He does. And like Williams doesn't have to like try.
Yeah.
He's funny.
He's funny.
He's funny on screen.
There's some lines that you can tell were just Robin Williams ad-libs in this movie, and they're so good.
Absolutely. And so he gets they're at the tattoo shop, and it's Travolta and Williams building for drugs. Like, I want you to get free man,
yeah.
And it's Fremont.
Yeah, and he gets Fremont tattoo, and it's a good bit. Well, the good bit is that Robin Williams, they could have just said like, yeah, it cost me $1 million to get it removed or something like that.
But he kept it.
And that could have been that. But the rest of this movie, every time Robin Williams takes his shirt off, you have to look at that giant Fremont blasted across his chest. And they make a joke about how hairy Robin Williams is because he does have a very hairy chest.
Which he's always had.
Yeah.
Since like a kid he was hairy. So then, and he meets a woman there.
Yes.
And this is part of the story that they're telling. And
named Vicky.
And who plays Vicky?
Kelly Preston. John Travolta's wife.
John Travolta's wife.
We haven't seen her in a while. I think the last time we saw her was Battlefield Earth.
Well, I will say, this has been 9 years since. Kelly Preston, looking kind of good.
Yeah.
Kelly Preston looks kind of good.
Good.
She's a very attractive lady. So, yeah, he meets Vicky. They fall in love. They get hitched up in a church.
Yeah, so they spontaneously married in Miami and then divorced the next day.
And the whole point of the story is that he got divorced, like, two divorces in the series of 24 hours.
Yes.
And they're like, ha, ha, ha. It's so funny.
And they all think it's very funny.
And then
the interpreter played by Lori Loughlin, former cast member of Full House and current inmate in the Los Angeles County Prison.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was arrested for paying off a college to accept her kids.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, that I do remember. You seen the documentary on Netflix about that?
I have not, but she's married to William H. Macy, who was unfortunately implicated.
Yeah, but he's not in jail, man.
He's not in jail, but she is. Okay, well, she's out of prison by now. She was released on.
Why is William H. Macy not in this movie?
William H. Macy should be in this movie.
He should. This is a movie.
They put him in Wild Hogs. Why didn't they put him in this?
Right. I don't care about Tim Allen. I don't care about Martin Lawrence. But why is William H. Macy not in this?
Are you saying you don't want Tim Allen to pop up in this? Be like, the '96 carburetor. Ah.
No.
If you ever listened, I mean, we talked about it on Wild Hogs, but I listened to some Tim Allen comedy special like a year ago, and it was literally just him like being like, "Yeah, I had the old Chevy. The carburetor acted up," and the audience like loses their shit. Like, what is this shit? What is this?
Tim Allen's got his audience, man.
There's a part where he's like, "Yeah, I was weed whacking. My wife yelled at me from the window," and like the audience lost their minds. And I'm like, "Well, he didn't get to the punchline."
Hey, Tim Allen knows his audience, and they all voted for Trump.
Yes, and they all voted for Trump. And they also probably were cocaine smugglers.
Hey, that was the 80s. He's a changed man.
We talked about Tim Allen's cocaine exploits.
So, at that point, we see Seth Green.
Yes, Seth Green is also in the room.
And that's when we know we've not crossed into 2010 yet.
Yeah. I think we talked about this on Be Cool, that Seth Green apparated into existence in the year 2000 and then disappeared in 2010. Has not been seen or heard from since. He just like morphed into existence in 2000, walked out fully formed. In 2010, he just faded away.
But you know who's another early 2000s actor that appears in this movie that is underrated?
Who?
Justin Long.
Justin Long is in this movie. And we will talk about him.
Fucking crushes it.
Okay, he's very good in this movie.
He's so good. Okay, so Seth Green, he's like kind of their like apprentice, executive or whatever.
But he seems kind of clueless.
Yeah, he's a little. He leans into his baby face mentality in this.
Yes,
I mean, he's shorter than both of them, which I don't know if that's exaggerated in the film, but maybe it's not. Maybe Seth Green really is just as that short. I don't know.
You know, Seth Green's best performances.
Chris and Family Guy.
No, the Mass Effect video games. He's actually really good in those. Shockingly, those are his best performances.
Interesting.
But anyway, yes, he's their apprentice. What's his name in this?
I don't know.
His name is Craig.
Okay. Step 1, don't name your kid Craig.
Yeah. Bad idea. Don't do it.
So they land the deal, and they're celebrating. And Williams, he's like, he gets a note from his assistant that says Vicky called.
Yeah.
And he's like really excited, and Travolta's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, it's Vicky." He's like, "What, Vicky?
Yeah, from
Miami?
10 years ago."
He's like, "Yeah, she like called. I was really depressed one night, and I sent her a letter, and professing my love, basically."
Yeah.
He's like, "You did what?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like,
"She wants to meet up with me."
Yeah. This is really funny. So he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna meet up," and he's like, "Well, you can't go like that." He's like, "Why?" It's like, "Cause you look like an albino."
Yeah. So they take him to a tanning salon.
Why is that funny, Jeff?
Albino?
It's not funny.
It's not.
But the movie, this is my favorite part about this movie, is Travolta says a lot of things that like aren't really funny, but the movie like
thinks that they're so funny.
Thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
He's like, and then I had a sandwich.
Well, that is the element that I vibe with in this movie. I'm like, it's like this bizarre transmission from another dimension about what they think a comedy is, and to them a comedy is just offensive humor and like things being said loudly.
Because you look like an albino.
Yeah. This
Cut
is like
to next scene.
This is like an AI trying to figure out what a comedy is. And then it's like, oh, people yell things, and then two men give a high five, and it's funny because they may be gay, and that's like this movie's like, oh yeah, it's comedy.
So then he takes him to a tanning salon.
Yeah.
And where William's going to get a spray tan.
Yes.
Now, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I give you Exhibit B, and that is insert tanning joke in early 2000s comedy.
Yes. Well, this is late 2000s comedy.
This is late 2000s comedy. Yeah. But like tanning salon bits and bad comedies are a staple to behold.
Yes, they're like peanut butter and jelly. They go together.
Like if you don't have an early 2000s movie with a tanning salon bit,
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
So Robin Williams goes in the tanning spray thing. And they turn it on.
And he like turns around and gets a full thing. He's like, all right, I think I'm done. Meanwhile, cut to front
Travolta's
desk.
too busy smooth talking the attendant. She's like, I don't want to step away. And
he does a pretty good job.
He does. And Travolta calls Shaq, of all people, and puts her on the phone with Shaq.
Meanwhile, Williams is in the spray tan tank.
Being
He's
like,
someone help me!
This is actually really funny because it's like it's shot like a horror movie,
and it's only because of Williams.
Yeah, it's Rob Williams like screaming and like,
help!
This movie's edited kind of fun.
Yes,
like,
it is.
This scene is like, it's all quick flashes, like a horror movie of like Rob Williams like grabbing his face and like tanning juice like flowing down and him like crying in a corner and like water just spraying everywhere.
It ends with him like with a hand on the glass, like help,
Independence Day
help,
style, like,
help.
Like what's the Independence Day line?
That's the
release us.
Let us release us.
Except in this Rob
Die.
Williams,
We want you to die.
Except in this, instead
Is
of
that glass bulletproof?
No, sir.
I got a high five on that one. That was fucking good. That was good.
Okay. And so, we don't see him get out, but we do see the aftermath. We cut to a train station.
Yeah.
Where he's gonna meet Kelly Preston.
How does Williams look in this?
So Rob Williams looks down. I can best describe this tastefully as a blackface. I could also describe...
Is laughing at this a violation of the Geneva Convention?
I could also compare it to the 45th president of the United States. You can take your pick. Neither of them are good options.
Neither of them are good options. One of them is in bad taste. One of them is a violation of the Geneva Convention. Well, technically
and the
both.
movie doesn't just like let this be funny, or it's already very questionable.
Yeah.
It has a Middle Eastern actor come up to him and say like, "Hey, did you know that there was a great deal on something somewhere?"
He's like, "Oh."
And then Ron Williams talks in his accent. The guy's like, "Oh, you're not Middle Eastern."
Yeah.
And then a Hispanic actress comes up and taps him and is like, starts speaking in Spanish. She's like, I don't speak in Spanish. And then she steps away, and he's just like, "What am I, the United Nations?" And I'm like, good line, Robin. This is a questionable scene, but a good line.
And then a little boy with his mom walks up and was like, "Look, Mom, it's an Oompa Loompa." It's like, "Oh, great. Now I'm an Oompa Loompa."
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Williams is doing amazing in this.
Yes.
He meets Vicky.
Yes, who's very concerned about it.
It's like, "Oh, you're tan." He's like, "Yeah." That's how Williams does it. He's like, "Yeah."
So when I was watching this movie this morning, Becca walked out right at the moment where he appears in the tan. I was like, "Oh!" That was the first thing she saw of this movie.
He's not like that the whole movie.
Yes,
He's not like this the whole movie.
Thank God.
What if he was, though?
But they're sitting down and they're reconnecting.
They are. They're having
And,
a good time.
She reveals that she's going to jail in a few days.
Yeah, and that she has kids.
Because apparently a power plant was going to try and set up in her property with eminent domain, and she like chained herself to a fence to prevent it from happening. But she needs someone to watch her kids.
And she's like, "Oh, so I didn't realize you were attached to somebody." It's like, "I'm a single mom," and he's like, "Ah,
hey, yes, he's very happy.
Ah, yes, that's so good."
Yeah,
it's like, dude,
because he's looking to smash.
Play it, play it chill, man. And then he's like, "But I have one more thing to tell you." And they're like, "What's that?" And then insert the little kids.
2 kids yelling,
"Daddy!"
And they run over, and they're with
da-da-da-da-da-da. But
yeah, so it's established that they're going to be staying with Rita Wilson.
That is not Rita Wilson.
Yeah, it's Rita Wilson.
Oh my god.
Tom Hanks' wife, producer of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Great actress. But she's a hand model.
She's a cross-eyed hand model.
Yeah, cross-eyed hand model.
Why is she cross-eyed? No reason.
Yeah. Who is going to be watching the kids. But she thought while they're in town, they should meet
their dad,
who is Robin Williams from That One Night Stand.
Yeah. And
oof.
So there's 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Who's the girl?
The girl is Ella Blue Travolta.
So it seems like John Travolta is like, yeah.
This is a family affair for him.
It's a family affair.
And they're not the only Travoltas in this movie. There are more. from the end
There are
credits.
more Travoltas?
Yeah, I think there are 3 other Travoltas in this movie.
God damn it, Robin. Why isn't he getting his family in on this gig?
Zelda is actually an actress.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that this, seeing as Travolta had worked with Walt Becker before, this is kind of a kind of a project for the two of them.
Yeah.
I would like to say that Travolta's daughter actually does kind of look like him in the eyes.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
He's a fucking daughter, man.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, the other boy, no relation to any of them.
But so Stuart, so he's just been introduced to his kids, and she's like, "Well, they're gonna be staying with my friend, but they may be in need of a daddy. Wanted. They may be daddy wanted. This movie could be called Daddy Wanted.
But wait, Jeff, who's talking? What as they're saying that? We need to look at who's talking.
Oh! I'm going to end the episode on that one. Thank you, folks.
Yeah. That comedy bit that we just did, that's this movie.
Yeah, that's this whole movie.
That's this whole movie.
I also want to point out in my notes when he appeared in the tan, I just wrote in loud and huge all caps, "Oh no."
I wrote down ... Is this blackface?
Yeah. So it is strange that this movie sets up Travolta's family, but with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
That is the weird choice this movie makes.
That's it's a choice.
Yes. Like he's dating Kelly Preston and has Travolta's daughter. It's a strange choice. But I guess, they had to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And Travolta would rather play the devil may care guy.
Do you think Travolta and Kelly Preston both count as the parents of the minor on set?
Yes, they would, I'm sure.
Even though they're also acting?
Yeah, I would guess so.
So then who drives her home when she's done with her 8 hours?
Teamster. No, they probably just had one of them go home with her. Be my guess.
What if they both had to work?
I don't know. They scheduled something.
I'm just thinking of how, as an AD, how you got to schedule that. It's like, so you got Travolta, you got his wife, and you got his daughter.
I'm sure they just told the AD, they're like, yeah, one of us has to be wrapped with our daughter. Because Kelly Preston's not in a lot of this movie.
No, she's not, yeah.
I'm sure she's on set every day with the kids and John. Anyway. So he meets his family. He's a little turned off by this. A little thrown off.
Yeah. They go to a carnival. I have to address.
Well, first he tells Travolta about it.
I thought they go to a carnival.
Oh, did they go to the carnival first?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're immediately calling him dad.
Yes.
These are 10-year-olds calling him dad.
Yes.
Right away. And they're very interested in him. Now, I don't know about you, Jeff, but I have not reconnected with an old family member that I've not known for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't immediately call them mom or dad. They're just...
Well, it's established that Kelly Preston had been telling them stories about their dad for 7 years. So they were probably very excited by this. And were ready to just be like, oh yeah, he's the
10 years?
Well, they established that the daughter had believed he was a superhero who was all fighting crime. So she kind of built this mythological version of Robin Williams in their head that when they finally meet him, they weren't remotely off-put by it.
That's so toxic. That's so horrible. How about, well, your dad and I, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you phrase that to your kids. Definitely not make them a superhero.
Yes.
Because that's going to be the Santa Claus thing. And I'm sorry to say, but there's no safe way to do the Santa Claus thing, unfortunately. All right, so then she says a joke about one of my boy, I just realized he needs a dad in his life. He hasn't he's 10 and he's never been in a men's room.
And so Robin Williams takes him to the men's room.
Yeah, in the carnival, the boy says, I have to go to the bathroom. It's like, oh, okay, I'll walk. It's like, actually, I was wondering if dad would take me.
Yeah.
So then cut to a stall.
Yeah, and you see the kid on the stall, and then you also see Robin Williams in the stall.
Standing in the stall.
Staring at him.
He's like, so what do you, how, my mom says, where have you been, for a while? And he's like, oh, well, it's a little complicated. Your mother had died. It's like, well, I know where babies come from. I don't know. It's just a weird conversation. And then, fart noise.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, boy. And then like a few seconds go by, another fart noise is like, "Does your mom usually?" And then the kid's like, "She usually waits outside." It's like, "Oh, okay." I'm gonna go do that then.
Yeah.
So then they drop them off at the hand model's house.
Yeah.
And we get a bit.
Yeah, a physical comedy routine worthy of Buster Keaton, where Rita Wilson is helping Robin Williams take stuff out of the trunk of a car.
Robin Williams accidentally closes the trunk
on
too
her
soon.
hands.
On her hands.
And she's a hand model who just booked a job.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh no!" And he's trying
like, ah! He's trying to hit the trunk, and it's just
so
like causing her
they
more
pop
pain.
open the trunk and it whacks her in the head. She falls to the ground.
Comedy gold.
We cut to what I can only describe as a stock photo of a hospital. Did you see this?
Yeah.
It's not like they went and got B-roll of a hospital. It's like a still image of a hospital, just blown up for the whole frame. We are then inside the hospital where she's in like a halo neck cast. And
her hands have like all casted up.
She's like, "I gotta call my agent." And Kelly's freaking out.
She's like, "Oh, she can't take care of the kids, and oh, am I gonna leave?"
And Ron Williams is like, "I'll take care of the kids.
I'll do it."
Zoinks. Cut to him talking to Travolta about this. Who's like, "Why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
That's such a terrible idea."
Yeah, he's like, "I don't like kids. And also, you live in a building where you're not allowed to have kids."
This is something where I wrote down about the hospital scene with Kelly Preston and her like seeming distressed.
Yeah.
Not the best acting. I'm just gonna be honest.
Oh, concerning.
It's just a little bit like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do for my kids?"
I'd like to point out that Stuart is closing his notebook. He has run out of notes for this movie.
I don't have any notes. I don't even think I wrote down a hair ranking bit.
Oh god, we'll have to figure that one out.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out.
And so they go. Travolta does math, and he's like, "All right, so accounting for kids sleeping 10 to 12 hours a day, which I don't think kids of that age do that."
No.
He's like, TV time, all this random stuff. You're only going to have to be a dad for 90 minutes a day. It's like running up the clock.
It was like, God help us.
Yeah. And so they take the kids to a diner.
Oh, yeah. This is like the beginning of a bit that's going to be repeated throughout the whole movie.
Robin Williams says he's going to make John Travolta has to help him with these kids.
Yeah.
And so they go to this diner, and they're being dirty dads and like hitting on the waitresses and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then someone says, "Oh, your grandkids look great."
I was like, "Oh no, we're not grandkids."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "What does your grandkid call you?" Mine calls me Pappy.
Yeah. And they're like, "No, I just got these kids. They're not my grandkids." And then the weirdest fucking thing happens.
It's like, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 new grandparents."
And the entire staff and clientele starts singing a song about.
It's like, happy grandpa, happy grandpa too.
It's senior, 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 senior. And it's like all of them being new grandparents. It's the strangest scene.
And so earlier, I think we missed that like one of the kids spilt something on Travolta's pants. So after this happens, Travolta gets up to try to redeem himself to the waitress.
Yeah.
It's like, "Listen, you got to understand that it's like, oh, it's like what?" He looks down, wet spot on his
It looks
pants.
like he wet himself.
And it's like, "Oh no, this isn't like it happens all the time."
Yeah, he's like, "Well, no, I just drank a glass of water. It fell on me." And some random guy's like, "When I drink a glass of water, it goes right through me too."
Comedy gold. Comedy gold.
Yeah.
But I am having a good time talking about this, though.
Yes.
As stupid as it is.
This stupid ass movie.
Yeah. What happens after that?
Well, the next thing is
The apartment?
Yeah, the apartment.
Yeah, he tries to take him back to his apartment. It's an adults-only apartment. This is kind of funny because he's like, "All right, kids, put these on." He gives them all these hoodies.
Wait, no. First, there's a scene in the office where Travolta is chatting with Lori Loughlin, and he's trying to hit on her because they go to the office.
How many scenes are there of Travolta?
They go to breakfast, Lori Loughlin at the office, and then Robin Williams' apartment. Okay. And while they're at the office, the kids are causing a little havoc. And Travolta's just like, "Oh, yeah, those are my nieces and nephews. I love them dearly, though." And Lori Loughlin's like, "How old are they?" And he's like, How old do you think they are? She's like, 7. He's like, yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, are they fraternal? Oh, fraternal twins." And he's like, "Is there any other kind?" Which, yes, there are.
Identical.
And so that ends, and the next scene is Robin Williams tries to sneak the kids into his apartment, which is an adults-only apartment. No kids allowed.
What does an adults-only apartment mean?
It is a real thing. It's just it's apartment complexes where kids aren't allowed for like people who don't want to deal with kids in their building. So Robin Williams says the kids put hoodies and sunglasses on, and like try and sneak in behind him.
A light turns on. It's like go, sneak to the bushes.
Yeah, and they hide in the bush. And
a neighbor coms out.
A neighbor comes out and she's like, "Oh, hi,
Dan, how's it going?" It's like,
the
hi.
neighbor, mind you, played by Amy Sedaris.
I don't know who that is.
Great comedy. Have you seen Elf?
Yeah,
she's the like the secretary in Elf. I'm trying to think of things you've seen.
Secretary in Elf?
Like James Caan's secretary. She was in The Mandalorian recently.
Speaking of that, have you watched the first episode of Book of Boba Fett?
I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good too.
But you know what? In Mandalorian, there's like the mechanic who takes care of Baby Yoda, and on Tatooine.
The orange guy?
No, it's a woman. She like fixes his ship on Tatooine. Anyway, that's Amy Sedaris, good actress,
Right.
of the Sedaris clan. But she's like, "Oh, hi, is that you, Dan?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's me." And she's like, "What's that behind you?" And Ryan's just improvs like, "Oh, maybe immigrants. I don't know."
Good save.
And then she's like, "They're kids," and like all these lights turn on and alarm. Cut to them at John Travolta's apartment.
Well, then like no, what you forgot is like troops come out.
Yeah.
Some guys in like camouflage and like move. We got a 2419,
Yeah.
2419.
Yeah.
They grab the kids. They're like, Dad! They're reaching their arms. Robert Williams is getting hold back by the soldiers.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, stay back from them, sir." And he's like, "No, those are my kids." He's like, "Put them in the furnace."
Yeah.
No. And then
That's the end of the movie.
that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, old dogs.
Old dogs.
But no, they wind up at John Travolta's place.
Yeah.
He's not pleased by this development.
Yeah.
He does a very strange. He starts being like, "This is my crib, man. This is my crib.
This is my get down.
This is my get down.
My get down.
Now, to the listener home, I'd like to imagine John Travolta saying these things because cursed.
Very cursed. So then they are sleeping on the couch, and then it's like, "How many more days do you have left?" He's like, 11 days, 119 whatever hours. He's
Yeah.
like, God help us. God help us.
Mhm.
And then the next day, well, so like there's a small little heartwarming moment with Travolta and Williams here, where Travolta's trying to tell him he can't stay. And he's like, "Listen, bud, I don't know what I'm doing as a dad. I need your help here. I need my friend." He's like, "Oh, okay." The music swells up and gets very heartwarming.
Yeah.
Then they go to sleep.
Yes.
The next day, kids are running around playing. Who are these two? The
two guys who show up.
two guys who show up and
played by Dax Shepard and Luis Guzman.
Luis Guzman.
The best. Like, I get excited when Luis Guzman pops
When
in
Dax
the movie.
Shepard shows up, though, man.
Mhm.
So then they're baby proofing the apartment,
Yes.
and they're like, I can't describe them other than they're just idiots.
And Travolta's like, "What are they doing in my apartment?" Ron was like, "They're baby proofing it." One of them was a civil engineer, and Dax Shepard was a failed civil engineer. He's like, "A lot of potholes and whatnot in my streets."
I don't really remember much what happens.
Yeah, there's another good bit in this where Luis Guzman keeps stealing food from the fridge in the background of shots. It's funny. But the two of them they're like, "Oh, they're
it's a camping bit, isn't it?"
Well, it's a camping bit next, but first, John Travolta's just like, because Dax Shepard assumes that's his kids, and he's like, "Oh no, it's just his kids, and we're just together." And he's like, "That's very progressive. I support it." And then he's like, "No, not like that, not like that."
This is the first of many of these types of jokes.
Yeah, there's a little bit of gay panic in this movie, which does not hold up well nowadays.
No.
But these actors are selling it as best they can. And we get a lot of it in the next sequence, which is the kids want to go to camp.
I love this a little bit, though, because they're like, "Okay, hey, what are you guys dressed up like that for?" It's like, "Because we're going to go camping today. You said you promised." He's like, "Oh, kids, no, I can't go." It's like, but you promise. And like, no, kids, I really can't go. But you promise. Oh, kids, I don't know. This is really bad time. But you promise.
Yeah.
Cut to camping.
Yeah, they cut to camping. Where John Travolta and Robin Williams are both there in camping suits.
Why is...
Travolta did not have to come.
No, he did not. I'm glad you thought this too.
So much of this movie is Travolta being at places he does not have to go just to support his friend, I guess.
Just provide a place for them to sleep and maybe some food here and there, but that's it. Yeah. But instead he's, because Uncle Charlie cares.
Yeah, and so they're at this camp, and Matt Dillon comes out, who's a very intense camp instructor.
Yes.
And he explains that, like, this camp has been in his family for like 100 years.
These are the rules of the road.
The rules of the camp.
Rules of the camp, everybody. Rule number 1. And while he's doing that, Williams and Travolta are working on their blackberries.
Yeah.
The blackberry.
And he's like, let's put the technology away and spend time with our kids.
And so he puts that away. Meanwhile, you hear a, hey.
Yeah. And you look over, and it's a very good, very funny shot.
It's Justin Long.
Because they didn't put Justin Long in like the seat next to them. They didn't put him super far away. They put him at just the right amount of awkward distance. He's like a bench and a half down.
Yeah.
Like sitting up staring at them. And he's
legs spread.
Yeah, legs spread. Looking at Travolta and be like, hey, you're the man who stole my girl.
He's like, I don't know who you're talking about. He's like, what was this guy? It's like, my beef is not with you, woman. Oh.
Justin Long,
with a beard,
undeterred eye contact with Travolta.
Like scrunchy
He's got
hair.
handlebar mustache.
Oh my God.
And he's like, you stole my girl right up from under me.
You stole my woman. I loved her. She was my everything.
And it's very
like, I
funny.
don't know who this is.
And the movie makes the smart move of never establishing whether that actually happened or not. It's just leaving it up to your interpretation as to whether Travolta actually did steal his woman.
It's kind of plausible, and so then what happens after that? They play frisbee or whatever.
Well, they play ultimate frisbee.
They play ultimate frisbee,
and
Travolta,
Williams and Travolta
do
get
like a
into
stretching routine.
Yeah,
or they're old guys, but it's been they establish that they're really good at this, so they start playing and they're doing really well.
Yeah,
like Travolta and Williams are working together and they're actually scoring a few points, but they also play slightly aggressively because Travolta throws the frisbee over to Williams, and Williams grabs it, but catches it where he elbows Justin Long in the face.
And Justin Long starts bleeding.
And he falls on the ground. He's like, you have your man fight all your battles for you. It's not good enough you steal my woman. And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, I loved her, man. She was my everything.
And then he yells,
prison rules. Oh, boy.
And a fight breaks out.
What can only be described as
chaos.
Just brutally, like,
if Red Bull was a movie, it would be this scene.
Not the sugar-free Red Bull either. This is like...
It's just the camera's like spinning. It's people punching each other. There's a mom decking people in the face.
Yeah. It's very brutal.
It's
Justin Long like just bites Williams on the ass and like takes off a chunk. And he's like, oh, my ass. He's like, that tastes good. And he keeps going. And he keeps biting Williams' ass. He's like, no. Yeah. Eventually, he has a whole ass cheek gone.
Yeah.
It's so bloody.
It's a mess.
There's pus and blood everywhere. The kids are doing angels in it. Travolta's just like staring, and he's just doesn't have any expression on his face. He's like, I got chills.
They're multiplying. Okay, anyway.
None of this actually happened in the movie.
Next scene. They survive. And they do shooting. We cut to them. Wait, no.
I think it's just shooting thing.
It's shooting first.
Yeah. So it's Matt Dillon with his shotgun.
Yeah, and they're throwing frisbees in the sky.
Justin Long gets a ceramic slingshot thing.
And he's shooting them out of the sky.
Pull!
And it's like, does anyone else want to volunteer? And Robin Williams does.
I like the framing of this.
Yes.
Because this doesn't show Williams like asking, oh, let me get a shot. Let me get a gun.
It just cuts to Williams with a gun.
With a gun and ear protection on already. It's like,
so,
pull! Everyone's like, what?
They fire the thing in the sky.
I said pull! And then they fire.
And Robin Williams, I think this is good. He actually shoots it out of the sky successfully. He's not incompetent. When he lowers the gun, he doesn't realize it's a double barrel. And the other one shoots off and blows the head off of a 300-year sculpture commemorating Matt Dillon's family lineage.
Yeah.
It's his grandfather's grave. I think that's it.
And then Justin's like, no! Matt Dillon just Terminator runs.
It zooms on just longer. No!
Just Terminator runs to the statue.
We cut to them in the car driving away.
Yes. And they're like, well,
they said it's the next day. They said like, oh yeah, well, we cut a week-long camping trip down to 16 hours. And we cut back to the camp. And it's night, and they're like at a little campfire. And somehow Williams lights the remainder of the grave on fire. No! And Matt Dillon's like, no!
Cut back to them driving.
Yeah, we never see Matt Dillon or Justin Long again. And what a tragedy that is. Yeah. So
I'm clapping for Matt Dillon and Justin Long's contribution to this movie.
This whole episode is really just here to get to the next scene. Where the two of them wake up in the morning and they're talking about their various medications and the problems that they have with them.
And they're having, it's like a little bro-y contest between the two of them. It's like, oh, you think that's bad? Well, I take this for heartburn.
I have to take all these medications.
And this gives me restless leg syndrome. And like, well.
And at first it just seems like an old person joke, like old person jokes.
Right.
Then you see why that scene was there to set up. Because the kids are playing in the room and the bathroom. And they knock all the medicine down.
And he's like, oh, do you think we should tell someone? And the little boy's like, I think I know where they go.
Yeah, so they put all the medicine back where they think it goes. Into the little, like, Saturday through Sunday, like, medicine holders.
Little old person
canister. Yeah, the pill holders.
Yeah, the pill holders that people over 50 use.
It also must be acknowledged right at this point is when we're also introduced to the idea that the son, Zach, is always unplugging John Travolta's things.
Yes.
To plug his PlayStation Portable in.
Yes.
And that's how you know this movie's from 2009, because there's a PlayStation Portable in it. I think that only existed in 2009 and never continued.
Yeah.
Stuart has reopened his notebook.
No, I did actually take a note about the hair ranking, and I thought maybe we should just get it out of the way now.
Did you want to before we get into the medicine scene?
Let's do the medicine scene first.
Okay. So we established that they mixed it up, and then the next bit is that Travolta's meeting Lori Loughlin at a party.
Yes.
And
Robin Williams is going to the golf course with
the Japanese investors.
Yep.
And so
morning montage. They take their pills.
They take their pills. We go to each of their respective things.
And so we never told the audience like what each pill does.
Yes. Well, some of them are there's facial paralysis.
Facial paralysis.
Loss of depth perception are the two big ones.
Yes. And appetite.
And appetite.
Yeah.
And so Travolta gets to this party that he thinks, and it turns out it's a bereavement support group for people who've recently lost family or friends.
For a first date, red flag.
Bad idea. Lori, what are you doing?
Lori Loughlin suggested that.
No surprise she's in prison.
Shit. Jeez, man.
But yeah, very strange.
Yeah. And he's walking up to the bereavement like circle, and he's like, man, I'm really hungry. Like, are you guys hungry? And then he meets Lori Loughlin and also her mom, I think. Was it her? It's
not her mom. It's the person who owns the.
Oh, okay. Yep. And we have so we get on a circle. We talk about our feelings. We have a buffet. It's like a buffet.
So he runs a buffet and she starts eating everything.
Yeah.
We're cutting in between him just like destroying turkey legs, and we cut back to Robin Williams.
By the way, so the joke with Robin Williams is he gets out of the car and he has depth perception problems.
And so he looks at his foot and it's just like zooming in out.
Pretty good effect.
Yeah, it's fun.
I was going to say, like, the effect that they do with that.
And then he meets with the three Japanese investors and Seth Green. Because he has no depth perception, he walks right up to their face.
It's like, oh, hi.
And he's like, hello, how are you?
How are you doing? One thing I do want to point out, though, is he took those pills and then drove.
Yes. I guess they didn't hit him.
It's established that, like, as soon as he steps out of the car and puts his foot down on the asphalt, depth perception thing. But you mean to tell me that that's the beginning of the depth perception problems?
Yeah.
I think what happened was Robin Williams got in a car accident and died, and the rest of this movie is him light flashing before his eyes. Just my thought. Anyway, so he gets right up to their faces like, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you. And then the whole insert golf bag swinging and hitting other people joke.
The classic.
Then they're on the golf course, getting ready to shoot. We cut back to Travolta. So they're doing the bereavement circle, and it's like, and she, in the test results we're in, she did have breast cancer.
Yeah, it's like the last thing she did was made a rhubarb pie for us. And we cut to Travolta just like eating like shoveling rhubarb pie into his mouth.
It's like, oh my God, this is so good. And they run over, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, this pie is so good. It's like, it was my mom's rhubarb pie. And he's like, Mark-a-donuts. That's how he says it. He's like, Mark-a-donuts, because his mouth is full of food.
And so now Robin Williams is out on the golf course.
Yeah.
And he's starting to like lose his shit. And he can't hit the golf club. And the Japanese investor, Mr. Nishimura, is like, do you want to use my club? And Robin Williams just doesn't hear him and doesn't respond.
He's like,
and Seth Green's like, oh fuck, it's over.
He's so concentrated.
Yeah, he's so concentrated
that he blocks everything else out.
But the game.
This is a good sign.
This is a good man.
This is
like, oh, okay.
Oh, whatever. So he goes for a swing.
Yeah.
And he swings and misses, but on the rebound swing,
hits Seth Green in the ball.
And the ball bounces back and hits Seth Green in the nuts.
Well, no. The ball goes into the hole.
No, not yet.
I thought he hit Seth Green with the club.
No, I don't think he hits Seth Green with the club. I think he goes for the swing. Yeah. He misses the swing. Then on the rebound swing, he hits the ball, and the ball hits him in the groin.
Okay.
Yeah. This happens 3 times because after he's like, Seth Green's doing it. He's really selling the whole ball groin hit thing. Which of all actors who could sell a groin hit, Seth Green's got the Oscar for it.
We're now back to John Travolta.
This is after the food problem.
So the next scene is when the movie actually stops being Old Dogs, and it turns into the 2019 motion picture Joker. Because we just get Lori Loughlin.
He's talking to the kids, and he's like, does my face look interesting to you? And we don't see it yet.
Yeah.
They're hiding his face, and then Lori Loughlin comes up.
Also, why did he bring the kids?
Yeah, the kids went to Travolta.
Yeah, kids went with Travolta. It's right
to the bereavement party.
Yeah, but anyway, so Lori Loughlin's crying about her bereavement, and we just start showing all these faces in the crowd of people like nodding their heads, frowning, crying as well. Yeah. We cut to Travolta.
What's the best way to describe this face?
He looks like he was hit by the Joker's laughing gas from the 1989 Batman movie. He's got
like
when this episode comes out, if I remember, I will have on our social media a picture of what he looks like in this posted, because it is grotesque.
Oh, this is gonna be our thumbnail. It is literally Jack Nicholson Joker from 1989 Batman smile.
Yes, it's that exact smile. Like he looks like he got hit by the laughing gas.
And he's like, "Do you think this is funny?" It's like everybody grieves in their own way. If I don't laugh, I'll cry.
It's really haunted. It's actually disturbed. It's frightening.
And a lot of people have memes about this. Like they memed this a lot. Oh my god, are you showing me the scene?
Yeah, probably.
Do you think this is funny? No. Everybody grieves in their own way. If I don't laugh, I'll cry. Oh god.
It's actually like if it wasn't a funny bit, it would actually be scary. Like it is a frightening visual.
It is a very frightening visual. Cut back to Robin Williams. This is after he hit Seth Green and the other Japanese guy in the groin.
Yes.
So he goes into the hit. He hits it. It hits a bird, lands on the putt, hole in one.
Yes.
And he's like, the golf gods look down favorably upon you. This is a good sign.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
And then cut to Travolta's home.
Yes.
Travolta and Robin Williams sitting at the bar. And this is a funny bit.
Yes.
Because Travolta still got his goofy ass Joker smile.
Yes.
And they're both drinking like some tea or coffee. And they both pick up their glasses. And Travolta says, "That was some delicious pie." And he tries to drink
it all
coffee.
just dribbles down his face.
Whereas Robin Williams still got depth perception, just misses his mouth and face entirely.
It's a good bit.
It is a good bit. That was some delicious.
I described this as a body horror sequence in my notes. Like this is full David Cronenberg.
That was some delicious pie.
This is also when I wrote movie with a contempt for humanity. Because the sequence is them ruining a funeral, just injuring people, looking grotesque.
It's funny.
It's
good shit.
It was kind of funny.
Take jokes.
Joker 2019. Okay, so the next bit is...
I don't know what happens after this.
Robin Williams' daughter wants to play with him, but Robin Williams doesn't know how. But Travolta's like, I can figure this out. And so instead of
just miss the whole bit where he is talking to John Travolta and he's like, "This is why I didn't want to have kids." And his son walks in.
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh, Zach, I didn't mean you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm really fucking this up with my kids, man."
And so Travolta, rather than just be like, "All right, here's how we're going to do it," here's how you could, like, instead of just telling him how to do these
Be
things.
yourself, man.
Yeah.
Just do it.
It could have even been like, here's what you should do, and then acted it out for him, and Robin Williams could have followed.
It could have been so many things.
Instead, John Travolta has the brilliant idea. I know a guy. We cut to a puppet show from hell. It's like all these monstrous creatures dancing on a stage. Going,
This is like, don't hug me, I'm scared puppets.
The center of the room, like a pedestal arises. Who's on top of it, Stuart?
Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac is on it as a master puppeteer. A very strange interlude in the middle of this movie. Travolta goes back and he knows him from representation days and like an agency. And he's like, yeah, what's Bernie
My
Mac?
friend's telling me you're having some issues talking to your girl.
Jimmy Lunchbox. He's like, hey, Jimmy. He's like, I remember back in the day you were working on a human puppeteering machine. Does that still work? He's like, I confided with you in confidence. And Travolta's like, we need it right now. And so, without much problem, Robin Williams and Bernie Mac just go ahead and set it up.
So they wire Williams up in this like puppeteer outfit.
Yes.
And he's like, stick this like little rod down your pants. It's like, why? Because that's gonna send a shock so fast you'll never like whatever.
Yeah,
he
something
says.
like that.
Something like that.
It'll literally tickle your funny bone, is what he says.
Yeah.
And so Travolta puts on a mocap suit. And this is the strangest interlude in this movie.
So it's a tea party.
This movie's already very strange.
With Robin Williams and John Travolta's daughter.
Yes. And John Travolta is in a mocap suit, controlling Robin Williams.
If people think we're joking,
we're not shitting about anything that happens in this movie, folks.
This actually happens. So
everything we've said actually happens in this batshit movie.
So what happens next? This is going to be really...
I wrote Robo Williams at this point.
Well, Jeff, we remember what happened next, right? Because it's pretty violent. It's very violent.
Yeah.
So what happens is it starts off as an innocent tea party with Travolta and the daughter and Robin Williams. And Robin was dressed up as like a king.
Yeah.
She's in a princess outfit. It's real cute. And they're like, oh, like, let's... He's like, all right, so he's going to drink the tea. And like takes a sip of the tea and cuts back and forth between the tea party and Bernie Mac Travolta in the mocap suit. And so then he's like... And the daughter makes like a joke, and Williams does like a ha ha. He's like, "That's not a laugh."
Yeah, and Travolta
make him laugh.
Rapidly
make him laugh. It's like, ha 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 ha.
It's literally mind control.
It's mind control.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
in the middle of this, like,
it's like make him slap
family
himself.
comedy. What is going on?
It's like let's make him slap himself. He's like slapping himself, and like
she thinks it's funny as hell.
And he's doing all this stuff until eventually he's like, he'll find this funny, and then he slaps the daughter across the face.
Yeah.
And then he's like, whoa, hey, Charlie, I think that was a little bit rude there. And the daughter's like, why'd you hit me? And then Williams all of a sudden gets up, stands up, and walks towards her. And he's like, what, Charlie, I think you should shut it off. And just starts beating the daughter. Just starts throwing hands. And just like throwing her around like Mini-Me and Austin Powers and Goldmember around the room. And he's like, Charlie, stop it. You're hurting her. And he's like, you don't find this so funny. You guys find this really funny. That part didn't happen, but
something very similar actually does happen.
Something very similar happens in which he controls Williams to basically beat himself.
Yes. And then he starts like writhing on the ground. It's rather frightening to the girl. And he falls into a puddle and electrocutes himself.
And dies.
And that's the end of it. No. But it corrupts the machine.
It's funny that this scene could have been taken in so many ways.
And Bernie Mac, the best version of this is if John Travolta just starts controlling Robin Williams, having like rob banks or something. That's the best version.
I want him to be an absolute murderer.
Yeah. But Bernie Mac's is like, I told him don't get it wet, and so Robin Williams has to explain. He's on his own now, and he finally finds the courage within himself to be her father.
Okay, this is the point of the scene. Is for Robin Williams
yes
to gain the courage to be himself around his daughter instead of investing in this multi-million-dollar puppeteer mind control.
In a robo mind.
So his best friend, who is not related to him in any way,
doesn't have any kids,
can mind control him to having a tea party with his daughter.
What is this movie?
fucking love this movie.
And so Robin Williams, he now has the confidence where we get a montage of the rest of their time together because it goes great. I do have one beef with this movie though at this point.
Yeah.
So we get this montage and it's just
the mind control bit, was it a beef?
No, it's just Williams and Travolta, having a great time with these kids over like a 3 or 4 day period of time.
Yeah.
They're watching Friday the 13th at one point.
Yeah.
Because early in the movie, Travolta had been like, the kids have never seen Friday the 13th Part 1 or 2.
And Kelly Preston's like, oh my God. It's like, he's kidding.
And so they're watching Friday the 13th.
He wasn't kidding.
Here's the thing. Jason has a mask in it. It's not Friday the 13th Part 1 or 2. It's one of the later ones.
It's one of the later ones with the hockey mask. Yeah. Part 1, it's not even Jason. It's the mom.
Yeah, in Part 2, he doesn't have the hockey mask.
And Part 2, it's like a potato sack.
Yeah. So, old dogs,
Fuck you, Walt Becker.
You've been found out.
You think we wouldn't notice? We noticed.
Did. Okay, and so it's the last night of him having the kids.
Yep.
And the next morning he has a meeting with the investors, and then he's picking up Kelly Preston at prison.
Yeah, and is this also the scene? They send Seth Green to Japan.
Yeah, they send Seth Green to Japan.
Because he's going to be their company liaison with the company.
And so...
he picks up Kelly Preston.
Well, Robin Williams wakes up, and he's like, the sun is out. And he realizes that they missed the appointment with the investors.
Because
his son unplugged the alarm clock to plug his PSP in.
And he's like, Charlie, conference call. So they run, and then they're running through the kitchen. The kids have made a mess in the kitchen making pancakes, and then they walk out the door. Zach does this thing where he looks at his sister. He's like, 3, 2, 1. Charlie and Dan come back in. It's like, kids, come with us. And then they leave with the adults.
Yeah.
So then they make it to the conference room on time. And it's like, we are so sorry, we forgot. It's like, blah, blah, blah. I hope our liaison, Seth Green, what's Seth Green's name? Craig. We hope our liaison Craig was able to start the meeting. It's like, we have not seen Craig since you told us he flew here.
Yeah.
He's like, what? And then one of the Japanese investor guys, he called me last night, and I heard a And
so we cut to Seth Green in a kimono in
like a
Japanese
rave.
face paint at a rave at a club in Tokyo.
Doing a
doing exactly that. And so the investors say the only being an hour late and not having a liaison is a bad look. The only way we'll do business is the two of you personally move to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And so now they're faced with a conundrum.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so Robin Williams, he goes and picks up Kelly Preston at the airport or in prison. And is like, I have to move to Tokyo. And she doesn't take it well. She's like, don't we matter anything to you? And like, you think he's going to make the move and stay with them. But then we cut to him and Travolta on a plane. They go to Tokyo. They have their meeting with the investors. Pretty much the rest of this movie is just on like speed run.
Yeah. And Travolta tells him a funny story about like the whole drug thing that you know, with the whole smile and all that stuff. Like he cues Williams up to finish the whole pitch. So then Williams stands up. He's like, okay. So he looks through his computer. He's like, I'm gonna pull up my notes. He pulls up a video of them at the carnival.
Yeah.
And he gets all choked up and teary-eyed.
And he intentionally blows the presentation.
Yeah.
So that they'll be sent back to America.
Well, after the video thing, he's like, oh, you know what? I don't need my computer because he can't get the videos off his screen. So he closes his computer and he's like, I'm just going to go off my notes. He picks up his notes and his kids list to do.
With Dad.
So then he's like, chokes up. And then cut to them going to the airport. He's like, I can't believe you blew that meeting, Dan. Yeah. He's like, we had everything all set for us, man.
So the two of them break up.
They
go back to America, back to New York. Travolta goes to pick up his dog at the... oh, by the way, there's a big part of this where he has a dog.
We totally forgot about the mascot of the movie.
Yeah.
Because this movie's called Old Dogs.
And he has an old dog. Who barely appears in the movie.
Like one scene. But he said... And they established that this dog is like 18 years old or some shit like that.
And so he gets to the dog kennel.
And he's like, where's my boy?
And they're like, we tried to call you. The dog died.
Cut to Robin Williams in his apartment. He has that voicemail. He clicks on it.
He's like, hey, my dog died. Come to the funeral if you want. I don't care.
My only best friend died.
Yeah.
He's like, the only friend I cared about died.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm really indifferent if you want to come to the funeral or not, but if in case you do, here it is.
Yeah.
So next day, it's a funeral scene. There's a bunch of people with dogs.
Yes. And John Travolta's giving this emotional
Eulogy.
farewell.
Yeah. And then Robin
But I
Williams,
wouldn't like to say any more memories.
and then
and you
Robin
hear-
Williams shows up
Then you hear, I would. And Robin Williams shows up with a new dog.
with a new dog.
It should be called New Dogs, IMO.
Anyway,
Yeah, and so they reconcile, and Travolta's like, I'm gonna get you to your family. Because I think Robin Williams says, I gotta go see my family. And John Travolta says, no. We gotta go see your family.
We gotta go get your family.
And so they find out that
They're having a birthday party for the kids
at the zoo.
in Vermont.
Yes.
So
And so for some reason they pick up Seth Green. Why is he with them?
yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I have no idea why Seth.
So it's the two of them with Seth Green, and they're
Seth
driving
Green
to the
calls
zoo.
him and says, "Hey guys, I know I messed up. I'm gonna make this up for you." It's like, you're still on probation.
Yeah, and so they bring him to the zoo, but he does nothing to assist them. So I don't know why he was there.
Well, so they break into the zoo because
Yeah.
the zoo's closed.
But there's still a party going on inside.
Yeah.
And Travolta tries to slide the 3 big ones to the guard.
3 $1 bills.
3 $1 bills. 3 big ones.
Yeah.
And so they sneak into the zoo, but they're in the gorilla enclosure.
2016 vibes much?
Yeah, Harambe, rest in peace.
They don't shoot this gorilla.
But Robin Williams starts using Jurassic Park logic, and he's like, I can't see you if you don't move.
You can't see if you don't move. Gorilla just gets more intense, like, oh, I don't think that's gonna work. And then Robin was like, you gotta get big and aggressive with
Yeah.
it. So he's like, "Ah!"
And the gorilla just gets aggressive with him.
Yeah. So then they start, and then they say, we gotta throw stuff at him. So they throw like fruit at the gorilla.
Yeah.
Gorilla picks up a tire and throws it, and it hits Travolta
Yeah.
in the face. What?
Time.
Oh, we just got, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. Gorilla enclosure. Robin Williams and Travolta get out. They run into a penguin.
Yeah, they get into a
enclosure.
penguin, and this is when I wrote in my notebook, cinema. Because they're in a penguin thing. They're like, oh, the cute little penguins. And then it's like starts doing snap zooms on the mouse here.
And the penguins attack them.
And they attack, and it's like Robin Williams abandons Travolta. He says, I love you, Charlie, and he runs away.
Yeah.
So now it's Seth Green with the gorilla and John Travolta with the penguins.
I'm alone.
And Robin Williams grabs a guy and it's like, how can I get to the birthday party? And he's like, the gate to the birthday party zone is locked. And then John Travolta sees a guy with a jetpack. I kid you not, audience. He runs up and he's like, who are you? He's like, I'm a superhero. I fly into kids'
Supposed to fly in
parties."
for this kid's party.
And Robin Williams realizes my daughter wanted a superhero for her dad. So he pays the guy off, gets in his jetpack,
It starts flying.
and flies to the party.
He's like, hey, it's me.
And the kids are like, Dad! And it's this big emotional, swelling, triumphant moment. I was like, whatever. I was like, I want give me more of the grotesque comedy, please. But he falls into the lake and like almost dies.
Yeah.
But anyway, they all reconcile.
They become family.
They become a family. And then we get a little montage just establishing what happened next.
Yeah.
And it is that Seth Green is still with the gorilla.
Yeah.
They left him with the gorilla. Travolta and Robin Williams actually end up getting the account because the Mr. Nishimura thought family is important and a family man. We want family men running our company, so they get the deal. Robin Williams remarried Vicky, and is now the actual
Travolta is now with
Lori Loughlin
Lori
and has a
Loughlin.
daughter.
And then
We get another Dax Shepard cameo where he baby proofs Robin Williams' yacht,
yeah.
and that's the end of the movie.
Well, and Seth Green takes a photo of them,
Oh yes,
and they all have the weird Joker.
oh yeah,
on
because they all took the pills by accident for some reason.
Well, because the baby proofers spilled the pills.
They spilled the pills and they put all of the ones that cause facial paralysis in the anti-sun sunburn or something. Seasick pills. Because they're on a boat.
I was wondering why the baby was doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, the baby?
And so they all have the Joker smiles and the movie ends. It's cursed.
And that's the
I'm
movie.
glad the movie ends on that grotesque visual because that's what I was the grotesqueness is what I vibe with.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the hair ranking real quick.
Yes.
Cue the music. Welcome to the the hair ranking. Jeff, do you have the list in front of
have
you?
it up.
Because this was the only one where I did not prep where it was going to go. But this is where we get the early 2000s impart.
Yes.
You know, we've seen this before, but this is like really imparty. So it's not bad hair, but it's just kind of generic. So I'm going to put this... I'm going to put this... above She's So Lovely, below Basements, between 33 and 34.
Cool.
That's
Above
the hair
She's So
ranking.
Lovely, below
There's
Basements.
nothing really to say about it. It's just a regular impart that Travolta has.
It's good
fine.
one, though.
Okay, it's you're right. It's decent. Yeah. He looks significantly younger than Robin Williams, even though they're basically the same age.
Yeah. And so...
What's the post-text of this, Jeffy?
So this movie comes out. It gets blasted by critics. Gets a 1-star by Roger Ebert. It has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is one of his worst reviewed movies.
5%?
Which, even though the two of us kind of enjoyed it, I would not argue it's a good movie.
No, it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
We
we kind of enjoyed this just in like, this is so bad, but funny.
Yeah.
Grotesque, whatever. Yeah. Vulgar. And then the box office, it makes $96 million on a $35 million budget, which is good.
Damn.
But it was still viewed as a disappointment by Disney. Because
Sure.
Wild Hogs was a huge success.
Yeah.
And they're seeing diminishing returns with Travolta and Becker, so they don't work with them again.
Yeah.
And so this movie is a success, but they don't see it as a success.
Right.
It only makes a little profit. And this is around the time Disney's starting to get into the mega blockbuster zone,
Yeah.
where it's like if something doesn't make $1 billion, it's a flop.
Right.
So that's basically the post-text of Old Dogs. It really doesn't do anything for anyone.
Yeah. I would say it's so stupid that it can be funny sometimes.
It's a transition movie for Travolta.
Yeah.
You know, right here with this and the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the transition into the new era.
Yeah.
And that's
the
the post-text. Stuart, any final thoughts on Old Dogs?
I think I pretty much said it, everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's got my favorite hero, Robin Williams, in it.
Your best guy.
My best friend. Robin Williams is my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's all I have to say.
That's
about
basically
that.
my thoughts on it. That the cast is okay. I think that everyone's trying in this movie. It's not a good movie, but I enjoy it as a piece of vulgar craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
That's basically it.
Shall we
Yeah.
close this out, Jeff?
Yeah, so make sure to tune in next week, folks, for our episode on From Paris with Love, when we begin the Red Box era of Travolta's career.
yeah.
Stuart's very excited.
Oh, you're so excited.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and please remember to rate, review, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. As a reminder, we are available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can follow us at Travolting Pod on Twitter or Instagram. Email us at travoltingpodcast@gmail.com. Pop into our Reddit, r/Travolting. Find me on Twitter at Jeff W. Sweeney.
Find me on Instagram at Stuart195. Please do something in our Reddit, please.
Yes, the Reddit it's sad.
Reddit's very sad. Please do
Yes.
something on Reddit.
And such thanks as always to Michael Motigan Smith for our theme music, Rebecca Johnson for our graphic design, Nicole Johnson for our social media. Have a great week, folks. See you next time.
From Paris with Love.